The schedule for this group, basically.
Sunday was a normal Sunday. Yesterday, offense, defense, and special teams we spent on a comprehensive self-scout study. Say that 3 times fast. Of the first 6 games. First and second down, third down, red zone, goal line. What have our offensive and defense, special teams issues been? How are people attacking us or defending us? So we spent all day doing that. I had a couple of speaking engagements. And then today we met, we practiced, worked on special teams, a lot of fundamentals and technique for the older guys. They had a 7-on-7 and used it as a developmental practice. So got the red shirts and some of the guys who don't play a lot of reps in 7-on-7 and team. We'll do the same thing tomorrow, and Friday and Saturday will be on. Thursday and Friday will be on road recruiting.
When will you move on to LSU? Get some stuff in early on that.
Sunday, yes, sir.
What's your main focus this week?
For the players, recharge mentally, rehab physically, work on their academics. So that's kind of the broad strokes perspective. But for us, it's kind of a self-analysis. Keeping the guys fresh with some work, and then developing the younger guys who are redshirts or don't play a bunch, and then recruit.
Is everybody still? I know a couple of weeks before we play a game, but everybody's still kind of day to day from an injury standpoint.
Yeah, if you ask me specifically, I can.
Okay.
It gets to be a little bit not lengthy, but I don't want to forget anybody.
Jamal
Peters, we're cautiously optimistic for him for LSU, and would be upgraded from indefinitely to day with obviously the lower body, but feeling better and better about him as the days progress.
Brian
Cole, same thing, yes.
Same thing, and
yep.
Daryl.
And Daryl, same thing. Everyone day to day, but I'd kind of put them all in the same category. Very, pretty optimistic that they'll be back.
You guys are #1 in the country right now in scoring defense.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, is it what you expected? I mean, what's the good? Obviously, not much bad, but just why do you think that group's performing so well right now?
A couple things. I think we have a bunch of talent on defense, and anytime you have a front 7. With guys like Jeffrey and Montez and all the other guys across the board, and they're playing hard and they're playing physical, and the coaching staff is putting a good plan in place that allows them to be in position to be successful, and then they're going out playing hard and making plays. So it's a combination of those things.
Were you a little worried? I know that with Shoop's defense, a little different, just the formations and everything. Were you worried there might be some growing pains with that? And why do you think the transition has gone so well halfway through the season?
I wouldn't say necessarily worried. Last year's defense and this year's defense. Both 3 down and 4 down fronts. It's a little bit different tweaks, a little bit different variations, but had the utmost confidence in Coach Shoop from his track record as a coordinator to places he's been. I think we've assembled a very good staff on that side of the ball. I think they relate to the players well. I think they do a good job motivating them, and obviously when you combine good coaching with good players, and they execute well on game day, I think this is a result.
With Nick, early on it was tweaks to a throwing motion, then it was getting fully functional within this system. What's the next step for him in terms of development as a passer?
I'd say the next step would be to see improvement, incremental improvement in his ability to read defenses, know where to go with the ball and why, stand in the pocket with confidence and delivering the ball accurately. So I wouldn't say it's one specific thing or a couple of things, but kind of a grouping of all of them put together. Just a general progression in all those different areas.
Another big week for Tez, to SEC Defensive Player, Defensive Lineman of the Week, and another national award. How much does it help you offensively as an offensive coach to have a guy like Tez, a pass rusher in the league's got several good pass rushers and things, to go against that in practice?
No, it's awesome. it's sometimes can be a little bit of a pain because you have a hard time getting a pass off sometimes, particularly in spring ball early on. But I think iron sharpens iron, and when you have an opportunity to go against guys like Montez, Jeffrey, and all those other guys, it's like sink or swim. The guys they got to get better, or they're going to get embarrassed. And I think going against quality of player like Montez and those guys is really helped develop us up front.
Have you ever had to tell Montez, like, hey, stop screwing up the offense?
No, we wouldn't want to do that. We tell our guys to block better.
the motion plays that y'all showed a good bit for the first time tonight, how concerned were you about you practice it all the time, but actually doing the game, especially with the tight timing with the bat being so close to the snap there?
The motion part of it, yeah. The good thing was that I think we only did a tiny bit of it in spring ball, but during our installation in fall camp, there was 2 days devoted strictly to empty formations in our motion package. So we hit it there, and then touched on it a little bit prior to this game in the season, but really never saw the light of day. Ended up on the cutting room floor, I guess you'd say. And but of any week to break it out, this was definitely the one.
How much confidence did Saturday night do for your offensive line to have some success after a couple of weeks where it was kind of shaky?
Yeah, I think for the offensive line and for all of us in general, you look back to the first 3 games, and you take the Kansas State one, and they are generally regarded as a pretty good defense and a pretty good front. We had a lot of success moving the ball there, and obviously the next 2, we struggled and didn't run it a ton, and when we did, it wasn't incredibly successful. So to come out against, and I say it again, a defensive front of that caliber, with the players they have, how hard they play, and how well they're coached, and have that kind of success, I think they kind of got their stinger back a little bit.
How much more is left on the cutting room floor?
How much room is left?
How much more is left on the cutting room floor in terms of wrinkles in the run game?
I'd say there's not probably many more plays per se, but the presentation of them and how we get to them, I'd say there's not a ton left, but a decent amount of how we can end up in a formation to snap the ball, but kind of make it look like it's something else. And the key to that is when you line up in the static formation, running plays out of that, so it's always not motion into the backfield or across the formation. So we have a whole laundry list of plays where the back doesn't have to shift back in the backfield. We just line up and run it.
We're gonna have to cut that part out.
Take 2.
With this open date and then half a season left, will there be any evaluation on how to script maybe some of the freshmen who haven't reached their 4-game limit yet, and how to get them in the rest of the way?
Yeah, we had Brule active for this past game because we had some injuries. Every Monday we do that, so we didn't do it this past Monday because it's bye week, but next Monday we will. And we kind of had the Tech game earmarked, and then the bowl game is another one where we would knock on wood, we keep playing the way we're playing. Those are the 2 that we've allotted, but injuries and necessity would allow us to kind of activate someone else in a different game.
You were joking after the game about taking your coaching pills and everything like that. As you've had 6 games with Nick and everything, has it even just the uniqueness of his skill set, the way he runs the ball, has there been surprises with him? I mean, did you, I guess just what's been the process of coaching him over half a year?
No, I think he's a very apt pupil. I think he's competitive and wants to know all the kind of subtleties and nuances of the game, including the pass game. And I know a lot of our attention was devoted, to his development as a drop back passer. And I think, he'll continue to make improvements there. But I think I've grown a lot, in 6 games this year, and learning about the players and what they can do, and obviously them, learning about us as well. So I don't think there's a coach out there that doesn't, I said leadership requires, in times of adversity, looking in the mirror, not out the window. And, that's the big thing you got to do is make sure it's not what we know, it's what they can execute. And I think that was, important for this last game.
This may be the wrong phrase, but is there an element of like swallowing your pride a little bit as far as the passing game and saying, hey, we actually run the ball well, let's just do this?
No, I wouldn't. I don't necessarily think I'd say pride with it. I mean, pride in the sense that it hurts me. I mean, I take a lot of pride in our history of success passing the football and our ability to do it here. But, ultimately, there's a couple stats that matter. The wins and losses and, for offensively speaking, the points we put on the board. So whatever we got to do to put it in the end zone.
LSU and Auburn, just to me anyway, look sort of similar. They struggle a little bit offensively, but they're very, very good defensively. How much can you take from the game plan against Auburn and bring it to LSU?
We just started looking at that. Forgot to mention that. In the mornings today and tomorrow we'll be doing the LSU game plan. But so we just started that a little bit this morning. I actually was just watching the La Tech game before I came up here. So I'm not ready to make a definitive statement about that, but from a couple of games, I'd say there are a lot a lot of similarities between the two from a talent standpoint, speed, athleticism, how well they're coached. Obviously, Dave Aranda is regarded as one of the top defensive minds in the country, so it'll be a great challenge.
Going back to running versus passing, do you
Yeah.
feel like you guys found an identity the other night? There's a lot of people saying that might be the case.
Found an identity. That's a good question. I hope our identity is one that we're able to put points on the board regardless of how the ball gets there. But certainly, I think as we probably talked about before, we'll not err, that's probably not the right word, we'll gravitate more towards what's working best. So, moving forward for the last 6 games, if we're running the ball better than we're throwing it, and that's helping us get in the end zone, then we're going to run it more. But I think we all know, that there's going to be a point in time when we're either behind or, defenses are doing a good job bottling up the run that we're going to have to, use the pass game to be successful and score some points. So I don't want to put all the proverbial eggs in that basket, but certainly if that's what we're doing better, then that's what we're going to lean on.
How confident are you if that situation arises, or when that situation arises?
Always confident.
Going back to the offensive line, you obviously mentioned that I forget the phrase that you just used, but they got their mojo back.
Yeah, stinger back.
Stinger back.
Yeah.
What do you think it was? Was it mentality or something they were doing different physically?
That's good. I think it probably had a lot to do with our success early on, and once they saw that we were able to pop some runs in there, and you go up against guys like that, and you're able to generate some success. I think that becomes it provides a lot of positive momentum. I think that probably had a lot to do with it.
And how refreshing was it to see that, given you guys were kind of banged up there and you had to have some guys step up?
Yeah, Daryl's one of our top guys. And for the other guys, obviously you talk all the time about next man in. I know it's incredibly cliche, but that cultural aspect of our program, not just there, but with Landry's stepping in for Cole, and you probably have 3 or 4 other examples of that throughout the game. I thought that was a positive step for the team and for our culture.
Do you think offensive balance is kind of an overrated term, or do you think in an
Balance.
optimal world that the perfect offense would be 50% running? And
Yeah, I saw Coach Leach's press conference on that. That was pretty interesting. 50%. I think it's as much about dispersal of the ball to playmakers, and in conjunction with production more than anything. So I historically in this offense, we operate the best when we're running the ball successfully. The numbers have kind of been like at the highest 55% to 45% one way or the other, but each year's the fabric of each season's woven differently. So if it has to be more run, then it's got to be more run. Thanks, guys. Yep.
Let's not focus on the Sox. All right?
I was asking Joe about this a minute ago, and I think I may have asked you the same question about Jeffrey a few weeks ago, but to have a guy like Montez Sweat to go against in practice when there's so many elite pass rushing things in this league, is that beneficial to actually in practice to do that as it seems like it would be in mentality?
Luckily I got the green jersey on at practice, so I don't ever have to feel them. But absolutely, to go against our defensive line and Sweat coming off the edge in particular, it gets you ready for anyone's D-line. You have to be ready to step up and move in the pocket, very quickly, because, as we all know, they're a very disruptive group. Have a lot of QB pressures, a lot of QB hurries, a lot of sacks. So going against them in practice, obviously it helps me with getting the ball out fast and moving in the pocket. But I think it generally just benefits our offensive line so much. Going against such high caliber guys, every rep.
We talked to you back at media days, and we talked about how much you were going to run this year, and you gave the impression, I'm going to run a little bit less, and then you had 28 carries last night. Is that something that you're just like, look, I got to do what I have to do to win?
Yeah, at this point, if they say, Nick, you're going to carry the ball 45 times and we're going to win the game, then by all means, give it to me and I'll go run. They say you're going to run the ball 0 times, we're going to win the game. So by all means, let's do it. So it doesn't really matter to me, what I have to do. Whatever the team needs is what I'm going to do to win the game. At the end of the day, one more W in the win column is all that really matters to me.
Do you feel like the open date kind of falls at a good time, midway through the season for you guys?
Absolutely, absolutely. You get through the first half, have a little breather, collect yourself, collect your thoughts, and get ready for a brutal second half of the season. So, we play in the West, so it's always like that. But to have it midway through the season, kind of get the first 6, done, learn from them, then kind of rest, recharge, and get ready for the second half.
How different this week been for you guys after a couple of tough weeks to have that win that you guys got Saturday? Has it been kind of a different air around the place?
Obviously it's always going to be different after a win than a loss. But one of the good things about this team is we've really handled, like Coach like to say, handle adversity and prosperity. We've handled adversity very well. I feel like we haven't started splitting up as a team. We haven't started blaming people. We've come together, stronger and both those weeks were tough, but come out together, big home win and a big SEC West win. So very proud of this team for not folding up shop and really kind of banding together and going and playing harder.
Watching the motion plays, not the running backs of the night, look at the timing had to be really tight there because Kyle will be right on you. Elkin's got to get the ball to you. It's just almost a very narrow window to get it through there cleanly, and you'll never have a bobble.
A lot of practice. Those kind of motions we've been working on since spring practice. Obviously haven't done a lot of them in games, but something that we've repped a lot and that we were comfortable with, and definitely throughout the week, molding like tons and tons of reps throughout the week, just making sure that we got that right. And that's really on the quarterbacks, making sure that we get the ball snapped in time to make that happen. So it worked out well. We had a lot of clean handoffs.
Could you tell a difference that this game, we're getting plays off 3, 4, 5 seconds faster than the previous game?
We kind of went out there with a simplistic plan, and running the ball was working very well, so it wasn't too hard to really think what to do next. You get 6 yards on first down, might as well go run the ball again. So it wasn't. I don't think it was too difficult. Trying to pick through which run plays to call.
Before the season started, I think talking to you and talking to Joe a little bit, there seemed like a little more of a vision of you being a little more of a drop-back passer this year, and it hasn't necessarily happened that way. Is that disappointing? Do you care? It doesn't matter as long as there's wins. What's kind of your feelings about the way the offense has developed?
An offense, plays to its strengths. Obviously, a lot of us thought there was going to be a lot more, drop back and throw the ball, and it hasn't been like that. Multiple different reasons, but running the ball works for us, and we're still going to pass the ball, so it's not really a big deal. To me, like I said before, it doesn't really matter to me what my stats are. It doesn't really matter to me, anything like that after the game. Personally, I just want a W. So whatever we got to do to get the W, I'm happy with.
Was that after the game on Sunday? Was that about as sore as you'd ever been? That was the most carries you'd ever had. What was that like? Just kind of recovering from that game.
Still recovering a little bit. Still trying to work the soreness out. But absolutely, I think honestly after the Kansas State game was probably the sorest I've ever been though. Just going such a long time without any contact, and then suddenly go in there and get 20 something runs in that game. Woke up the next day, couldn't really move, and so my body's just kind of gotten a little bit more used to it throughout the season, but definitely sore.
Is that difficult? You do a few plays in a row, like say against Auburn, you get hit 3 times from all kind of different ways, and then you got to drop back and pass. Do you feel the hits kind of in real time like that? You know what I mean? Does it affect your throwing at all, or do you not really care in the heat of battle?
There's some. Obviously adrenaline pumping, that kind of thing. You don't feel a lot of it until after the game or anything like that. When you calm down, there are always a few hits throughout the game that you really feel, but at the end of the day, you got to fight through it and can't really let it affect the rest of your game.
I know you've had several running backs over these 2 or 3 years. It looks like you and Kylan are developing that chemistry on the read and everything. What makes him unique? What makes him good at running what you guys do?
He shows it. He's extremely fast, very quick side-to-side lateral guy. He reads the field well, makes good cuts, jump over people, spin move off people, make people miss, run through tackles. So he's a very talented back. When it comes down to it, it's just making the right read with whoever we're reading, give him the ball or pull it and go.
Joe was talking about a little bit how annoying it is sometimes for the offense to have to go against Montez and Jeffrey because they can wreck a practice sometimes because they're so good. What's it, from your perspective, how difficult is it to go against them, and how much does that prepare you for what you see in the SEC?
Well, once you get into the season, there's really not much, one versus ones going out there and scrimmage against each other. So during fall camp, during spring practice, we went against them a lot every rep. But once you get in the season, it's a lot more scout team. There's a lot more teach reps than it is full speed, tackle reps. But I mean, you can ask the scout team offensive guys. I'm sure they're not having fun doing it.
But in the spring and in the preseason,
extremely,
what's it like going against Montez?
Very disruptive. Extremely quick guy off the edge. Has great moves, great hands. Get blockers off of him, and he'll just beat you around the edge. So really teaches you as a quarterback to get the ball out quick, or move in the pocket, scramble out, get away from him. But you try to run away from him, and you're not. Most people aren't getting away from him either. So extremely talented player. Plays extremely hard, and glad he's on our team. State.
Thanks, Nick.
Other guys can attest to that. We haven't brought out our best showing yet. So,
what is the best showing?
No MAs, no lows, balls to the wall, everybody to the ball. So I mean, just an all-out effort.
After the last, I guess, year and a half now, do you notice offensive things scheming up things to try and stop you differently now than you did, say, a year and a half ago? Now that you kind of developed this reputation here now the last year and a half?
Yeah, you kind of notice it a little bit. I mean, but it's all about just reading your keys and just playing footballs. But just a little bit, not too much.
How much is having a guy like Jeffrey inside that they can't double team both of you guys?
Yeah, I thank him almost every game. He allows me to get those one-on-ones, and they can't double team two people on the defensive line, so because he's not gonna wind up too good. So yeah, I thank him.
We were joking around with Nick a little bit, and he was talking about how y'all don't go against each other too much during the season, but spring and in fall y'all get to and things. And he said that he was glad he got to wear the green jersey out there. How many times have you had to check up and kind of whisper in Nick's ear, could have got you?
We definitely compete in practice and camp in the spring, and he's also told me I wish I could go live because I want to tackle him. I never see how it felt, honestly, but yeah, me and him get out there for sure.
The defense is ranked #1 in scoring defense in the whole country right now. How does that make you feel to know you're a big part of that?
I mean, you can say I'm a big part of it, but I mean it's definitely a team. It's definitely a team effort. I mean, it's a level. Everybody got to do their job, because if somebody don't do their job, then it's not gonna work out.
Were you surprised, because I know last year from Grantham to Shoot, there were some changes in this defense, and it seems like it hasn't affected you guys, at all. You just picked it up right away. Has the transition been maybe even better than you thought so far?
It's definitely just a credit to the guys of how smooth we transitioned from coach to coach. I know the former players here, they tell me when I came here, I mean, we had a new D coordinator every single year. So I think they're pretty accustomed to moving on from defense to defense, and I think that's shown on the field.
Now that you've played 6 games under him, what are the things you like about Coach Shoop? What's he like on the field? What's his kind of game day demeanor?
I like Coach Shoop a lot on game day. He's real pumped up. He has this thing called the nasty pill also, and that's a drive. And much like a previous coordinator, he's very aggressive, and I like that too about him. So yeah, I like Coach Shoop.
All right, thanks, man.